With me is John Poli, the CIO and Senior Vice President for Washington Dental Service. Thank you, John, for being a great moderator and a great chair for this chapter in Seattle.
Thank you, Tony.
You guys did a huge amount of preparation for this social computing aspect of the panel today. For those people that are not able to make it, what are some of the takeaway points?
I think the key points we took away today is that, first of all, social networking is here to stay. In fact, I think the analogy to email historically is a good analogy that whether we like it or not, this next generation coming into the workforce and the new productivity we're seeing with these tools is creating an inevitability that business will adopt it and make it part of its mainstream. It's just a matter of how and when we do it.
What about privacy?
Well, I think privacy and security are going to need to be managed very closely. Privacy is a little more difficult than security, where you have security, I think you have a little more fixed set of things you need to do that are black and white. Privacy gets to be a gray area, and I think it's important for the business to talk about their outcomes and their goals for their business first, and then layer on their social networking strategy on top of that so they make sure they're consistent. I think when you have inconsistencies is where you'll run into troubles with privacy.
Okay. One of the key discussions today raised by one of the attendees was about different generations of employees working in a company. The consistent discussion has been younger generation would be able to adopt a social collaboration, social computing a lot easier. What have you seen?
Well, we've certainly seen it today. We see pockets of wiki development with my engineering team, for example, which is mostly people in their 20s. They are creating these sites. Even if you don't provide them natively as part of your infrastructure for the business, your technology people will start to create these sites natively, or your people in your different functional business groups. So it's a reality they're all dealing with. We also find that they're the ones who seem to be most active in using the general portals out there, whether it's Facebook or other social networks. They seem to be most active there, and it's an effective way to touch base with them there. So we're certainly seeing that generationally, and we're also seeing the challenge with some of our more veteran employees. We're thinking through those areas right now and looking at how technology can help bridge and merge those different functional ways of doing business.
So is Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Yelp, is social networking and social computing here to stay?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So for those people that are not implementing that, what are some things that they should think about?
You should look at them as an opportunity to drive productivity and to bring together organizations in a new way, in a more viral way. And I certainly believe, and what we're trying to drive in our company is driving innovation through that collaboration and through that transparency to what other groups are doing.
Okay. Well, John, thank you so much for being a great moderator and a chapter chair for Seattle TechExecs. Thank you again.
Thank you, Tony.
With me is Katy with Yelp. Thank you for being on our panel this morning.
Absolutely.
So what did you talk about with everyone?
Well, we talked about social networking and sort of how social networking is it's changing a lot, and without social networking in some businesses, businesses suffer a little bit, and there's the ability for some companies to use social networking internally and have their virtual employees or even employees that all work together in an office communicate on an internal basis, and sometimes businesses can do really well using it externally with features like using platforms like Twitter and Facebook and things like that. It's a great way to keep people connected.
Great. Well, so what's Yelp?
Yelp is a business review website. You can go on Yelp and you can read or write reviews about great local businesses. It's just very interesting to see how different companies view social networking and how it could be a big scary monster to some people, and then for a company like Yelp that's been around just 5 years, we pretty much depend on it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the panel today, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. With me is Ernie Hood, the former VP and CIO for Group Health. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being on the CIO panel this morning, and you guys talked about social computing.
Yes.
How is that impacting the community? How's that been impacting your company before?
Well, the use of social computing is starting to take off, and one of the things we talked about today in the discussion was how social computing has gone from this sort of personal toy that people play with to something that's being used by corporations, and how it's becoming a tool for effective business use. So what used to be corporations saying, well, this is a personal toy that people play with, we're going to block it or ban it or prevent our employees from using it. Now that it's becoming a corporate tool, that's starting to open up, and more organizations are allowing it through. I think one of the key points, which came actually from our panelists from Yelp, was really clear that trust is a big issue. And being able to trust these sites that use social media is a critical factor. And how you establish that, well, you vet and validate the users and the participants, and you police what's going on to make sure that nothing offensive or out of bounds is occurring. And then the other thing is, in order for a social network to be successful, you actually need someone, as Yelp has done, who will encourage the network, who can be sort of the community leader, exactly. And that so many cases we've seen where attempts to create a social network have failed because they didn't have that community leader to make sure that it happened. So that was a big learning. I think that the combination of the trust and having someone to sort of be the farmer, the one that puts the fertilizer and encourages the community to get together and do things and act responsibly is really key.
Well, thank you so much for being on the panel today, and we really appreciate your input. With me is David Wu. He's the CIO for Point B. What did you guys talk about today?
We talked about social media, social computing across the spectrum of what's happening on the consumer side, like Yelp, as well as what business-to-consumer businesses like Group Health are doing,
Okay.
as well as B2B companies like Point B, how we're trying to leverage the power of social media within our company as well as with our customers.
So what's the key driver for internal social collaboration?
For us, the key driver is figuring out how to get to the tipping point of adoption or participation, because without participation, social media is nothing. And for us, we've had sort of a demographic challenge and an adoption and behavioral challenge. So we've been spending a lot of our time figuring out how to crack the nut. And one strong feeling that we have is, in order for social media to be successful internally at Point B, we need to deploy it in a way that it helps people do their jobs better, because our people are all trying to do their jobs. So instead of having to do something else, something separate in addition to their job, how can we arrange the tools, the platforms, and processes so that social media actually helps them do their jobs better? If we look externally to our recruits and potential recruits, it's our recruiting team. If you look at brand awareness and PR and selling to our customers, our business customers, it's our growth team and our brand team. If you look at the application of social media internally at Point B to better leverage the collective wisdom of our associates for our clients, it's our knowledge management area, it's our delivery area, and if you look at just the company itself and what we want to do in terms of better leveraging the talent that we have, it's our people team and our culture team and our communications team. So it's interesting because I almost named every area in Point B. Honestly, IT is not driving social media at Point B, because social media for Point B is about the business value that we get in each of these different areas.
Well, thanks so much for being on the panel today. I actually learned a lot from you listening to you.
Great.
So that's really awesome. So thank you again.
Yeah, you're welcome.